This is VSiN, the sports betting network. This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Two here, Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, Sirius XM Channel 158. Jonathan Von Tobel to my left, Stormy Buonantony with you. We're live in downtown Las Vegas at Circa Resort and Casino, as always. Remember, if you missed any of the first hour of the program, you want to catch up on some of the NFL trade deadline conversation we had, plenty of college basketball, college football. Money Moves is always available in podcast form as well. Don't make fun of my hand movements, okay? Just because you want to tease Pod to the Futures. Let me live my life as I try to tease our podcast as well. And I'm Italian. I speak with my hands. What do you want from me?
Pod of the Futures, wherever you get your pods. Recorded the new episode today.
Me sick.
Very good episode, I think.
We'll have some basketball that we get into here in a little bit, as well as college football. We're going to preview a pair of the marquee games in college football coming up this Saturday. Best bets at the end of the hour. Did want to remind people, though, if you're just joining us, the big news in the NFL this morning. The New York Jets have been very busy ahead of the 4 p.m. Eastern trade deadline. Apparently, they trade away their two best defensive players, corner Sauce Gardner and defensive lineman Quinn Williams. And I know you made the case earlier for potentially Jets' fewest wins this season. Going to have to go toe-to-toe with the old Tennessee Titans, who are offloading some talent themselves. But it is interesting seeing teams kind of admit defeat here. All right, we know the situation we're in. We got to be sellers. We got to be in rebuild mode. And then teams that are trying to either be at the top of the food chain or feel like they are, they're adding.
Well, and as now, I would assume you're going to do this year because, you know, you're in this class, but who knows? Let me ask you, what do you think this quarterback draft class looks like this year?
Don't love it.
Right? So the interesting part is obviously the Jets have this 2027 first-round pick from the Indianapolis Colts, but it makes you wonder, like, when you're going to target, because at some point you have to, like, bite the bullet and go get a quarterback. You'd assume that part of the draft capital you're getting is there, but I do wonder, you know, if they're going to do that, or do you wait for 2027 and somebody named Arch Manning to come out? I don't know. But either way, you're stockpiling a lot of assets to improve your team. Mm-hmm. And we see this all the time. Let's say they actually hit on whatever quarterback they draft, if they draft one coming out. Houston Texans, Washington Commanders. Now, you don't want to dive all the way in, and Houston, I think, more arguably so, has just failed in the way they've built around C.J. Stroud. But either way, both teams turn things around very quickly if they hit on the right thing with their quarterback. So you could see not only a really strong young team coming up for New York in the recent future, but in the soon-to-be future, but also, I mean, they could be a contender in the NFL playoffs just like that if they play their cards right. You like it.
Earlier today, when we were talking about the Quinn and Williams deal when it initially came out, we saw that...
Oh, did we find out what more was?
Yes. So it was initially reported that Quinn and Williams was traded to the Cowboys for a first-round pick and more. The and more is a 2026 second-round pick. So it's the 2026 second and a 2027 first. The first-round pick is the Cowboys selection, not Green Bay's, because you know how all that kind of stuff works behind the scenes. Dallas obviously trying to fix what has been a bad defense. They get rid of Micah Parsons, but now they add Quinnen Williams. They add Logan Wilson from the Cincinnati Bengals as well. Although, as we mentioned earlier as well, might be too little too late considering the situation that Dallas is in.
Do you like the Rashid Shaheed trade? Seahawks get him from New Orleans?
I do, because Seattle is a team that we have seen, like, Sam Darnold is legit, and he has made the most of his weapons there. And if they're trying to build that out and continue to outscore teams, yes, I think that's a really strong addition for them.
They got some speed, man.
Yeah.
They look pretty good.
For sure, which I don't love in the NFC West, but what are you going to do?
I mean, that's the NFC as a whole, just the complications of what the NFC West looks like with the Rams, the Seahawks, and your 49ers, as we talked about today on Pod to the Futures, wherever you get your podcasts, as well as Money Moves, wherever you get your podcasts.
Much better. That's what you need to do. Double down.
Your 49ers are, one would assume, going to get healthy at some point. So just this race of these three teams and who's going to win the division, I think we're assuming, and rightfully so, but just those two divisions in general, the NFC North and the NFC West, they all have three playoff contenders. But you're not going to get both of them, all three in. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see like how this shakes out. There's going to be some pretty good teams left on the chopping block potentially.
The Seahawks 6-2, Rams 6-2, 49ers 6-3.
Yep.
That's the way that shakes out. And in terms of the odds in the division, the Rams plus 120, Seattle plus 145, San Francisco, if they do get healthy, and we've talked from the beginning of the season about the strength of schedule that they have in general as well, plus 370 for them in the division after they were odds on at one point. So keep that in mind as you go. But Seahawks, we've been talking about them for a while as potential buy points. But after you see what the Rams are doing, and I mean, Matthew Stafford's only going to be so quiet in the MVP race for so long with what he's able to do. Another 4-touchdown performance for him. Granted, it's against the Saints, but still, that division is one of my most, and not just from a 49ers fan standpoint, but I think just big picture in terms of the NFC is so intriguing on paper.
I mean, somebody up here has got an 80-1 on Sam Darnold, who threw 330 yards and 4 touchdowns the other day.
Not too shabby.
And might be the starting quarterback for another number one. Well, they didn't get the 1 seed last year, but a 1 seed in the NFC.
Potentially,
yeah.
Potentially.
Just throwing it out there.
Let's get into a little NBA here because we do have a 6-game card coming up.
Forget the card. Yeah, forget the card.
Before we get to the games, for anybody who missed it right before the weekend, Grizzlies star Ja Morant was suspended for a game due to conduct detrimental to the team. He was essentially calling out the coaching staff in response to questions about his performance and being disengaged in their game against the Lakers. Fast forward to yesterday, he played his first game back in was a 114-106 home loss to the Pistons, and his first public comments since the suspension were made post-game. Here's what he had to say.
Were you and the coaching staff able to talk about what happened Friday and move on?
Y'all asked that question to them, huh?
What about for you?
Y'all asked that question, so y'all know the answer to that.
Do you feel like everything's been resolved?
Yeah. They told y'all that, right?
Well, yeah, but we didn't hear it from you.
Obviously, they can't go and tell y'all something I ain't say.
You feel like you got that same joy right now that we used to seeing from you?
No.
Why not?
What can be done to get it back?
We'll see.
Do you think you have a good relationship with the franchise?
Yeah.
In general?
Yeah. They told y'all that, right?
I didn't say anything about that.
If I had a good relationship, I wouldn't talk to them at all. So, I mean, we had our combos over the years.
Do you have any regrets about the way you played on Friday night in the second half?
You said what?
Do you have any regrets about the way you played in the game? I'm not talking about the
That's your home run question? Sound like a bait question.
This dude stinks. Come on, man. What are we doing?
So bad.
I mean, like, again, this team, it's like they're 3-5 now. They lose that game. They started out relatively well, but this whole thing falls apart, and now you have to deal with this. You know, as we talked about yesterday, the pain in the rear end versus production ratio is definitely, as dubbed by, I think it was Tim McMahon over at ESPN, is definitely like starting to lean in the other direction here.
It's like the hot crazy scale.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah. Except like he's becoming more crazy and he's getting less hot because he doesn't defend very well. He's not as athletic. As it's been pointed out, one of the things he does extremely well, was attack the rim. His shots within 4 feet of the basket are starting to decline. So he's not even doing that anymore. It's a nightmare. They've now lost 3 straight and 4 out of the last 5. Their schedule is now Houston, Dallas, Oklahoma City, New York, Boston, Cleveland, San Antonio. Yeah. So going through November 18th, if this dude's not going to buy in, I mean, we're talking about a big slide down the standings.
That's what I was looking at. Is like just based on the schedule, this could get worse before they get better quickly. Did have 20 points and 10 assists yesterday, but just 5 of 16 from the floor. Turned it over 5 times as well. So what do you make? So one of his big issues is the rotation, right? And that he's
sounds like that was a report. And so I don't know if you. So the report essentially is like he doesn't like the rotations, the when he's getting taken out of games. So
instead of getting taken out for an extended break once a half, it's like every quarter he's getting taken out.
Right.
But isn't that partially because of the Grizzlies' pace? Like they play at faster.
I mean, it's not even that. So Thomas, I butchered this guy's name. Their head coach Isalo. He actually was asked about this afterwards when the report came out, and essentially it was like, look, we did this when out in other spots. Like, it's a new day and age with athletics. We're trying to take care of our guys. We're not trying to run them into the ground in the early portion of the year. And I'm paraphrasing all of this. But like, this is what the rotations are like. So what's funny about it is, even if that's your complaint, at the heart of the issue is your coach saying, I want to make sure you're healthy. And we're rotating this in this way because of it. It's just such a weird way to handle everything. And then to come back from the suspension and continue to do this, I mean, there's no way that you can realistically buy into this team right now.
Is that him trying to get traded? Is there an element of that he wants to get out of there?
I mean, maybe, but where are you going to go when you're driving your own value down? If you're Memphis, I mean, what are you going to get?
Well, and that goes back even to the conversation we had yesterday. Because the team, I think more than any other that's been brought up, is Miami and Heat culture and all of that. Do you, if you're Eric Spoelstra or any of that, do you even want that headache and problem to be added? Sure, you have trust in what you do and foundationally what your culture is, but is that really what you want to bring in?
I'm willing to bet there's no shot the Miami Heat go and grab him. But for the main reason, again.
Who do you think would be willing to take a shot on his upside?
But to the point really quickly, the reason why is, again, for audience who doesn't know, the coaching staff that was part of it that was fired last year, the offensive assistant that John Morant did not like, who he did not like his offensive scheme, is now in Miami.
Yeah, so, I forgot you brought that up yesterday.
There's no way that Miami would put those two back together again when it's this like non-pick and roll heavy sort of futuristic-ish offense that he's not really going to like. So no, I don't think that would be the case. I mean, there's not really that many teams. You can make it financially work for a few of them, but I mean, one of the teams that's been thrown out there is I don't know what you would call it out there in NorCal with the Sacramento Kings that are just amassing big names with no real purpose whatsoever.
Okay.
Grizz
not in action today, but we do have a 6-game slate, so we're going to step aside. When we come back, we'll get into that card, which includes NBC and Peacock national doubleheader with the Magic and Hawks and Thunder and Clippers. And also, I know obviously we talk about these games from a full spread and total perspective, but when it comes to props right now on vsin.com for a limited time, we're giving you free access to our NBA AI player prop tool. We have them for the NFL as well. If you go to vsin.com/NBA props or vsin.com/NFL props. But if you want to become a full VSiN Pro subscriber, you're going to get unlimited access to this stuff year round. vsin.com/subscribe. Come join us on a full-time basis and get unlimited access to all of the articles, bet splits, props, and more.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Six-game slate on deck in the National Basketball Association as we welcome you back here to Money Moves. Stormy, Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. What did I miss? Why are you laughing?
I'm just laughing because, to your knowledge, I could have been just crying right now. And the look of disgust that you shot over when you thought that I was actually crying over here in the corner. If I was crying, like no emotional support, no nothing.
I didn't think you were crying. What I heard was a laugh, and so I was like, "What the hell did I do that's so funny now?"
No,
you were pretending to cry about what?
It reminds me of many years ago. One of our PAs here is a buddy of mine, Danny. We were at a party, and I may or may not have been on the verge of fainting and/or passing out. And I went up to Danny as my world was coming in, like I don't know if you've ever painted, but like start to get tunnel vision like this. And I go up to him and I go, dude, I think I'm about to pass out. And being a very good friend of mine, he shoved me and said, ugh, as I was about to pass out. I did not, though. I did not, for the record, actually do it. So, good emotional support. I'm glad I surround myself with the best of the best when it comes to picking me up when I'm done.
I mistook your fake cry as laughter anyways, and I was more upset. And I was like, we're coming back from break. Can you just get it together, man?
No, I was weeping because LaMelo Ball is going to miss a second straight game today. The ankle issues persist for the young Hornets star. They are off to a 3-4 start, which by most you'd be like, that's not great. But for us, from a win total standpoint, you can't ask really for that much. It's a pretty good pace to ask for a team that we only need 26-ish wins. Mr. Buonantony needs, 28 or something like that?
So needs over 27.5. But you throw LaMelo in with the Brandon Miller report that he's going to miss a couple weeks
with the shoulder subluxation.
Ay.
So that subluxation is, I believe, dislocated, but then came back in. So, yeah.
Sounds gross.
No, either way,
I'm
it sounds
not a
like
doctor,
it sucks.
But I don't like it.
And you get all of this in the context of taking on the winless New Orleans Pelicans, who might not have Zion Williamson today. He is officially questionable. This team looks like it. You talk about quitting, the whole thing started with Ja Morant the other night against the Los Angeles Lakers, quiet quitting in the second half. The Pelicans, it looks like this team has just loud quit. And it looks like Willie Green might be on his way out the door, but this team's been awful. But, Stormy, if not now, win for the New Orleans Pelicans.
I love that you set it up that way because legitimately, when I wrote out my notes for this game, I was going to say, buy low for the Pels potentially.
I mean,
although now we're out to 4.5 with the LaMelo news. The total also has ticked down from 236.5 to 233.5. So at the current number, I don't know if you feel the same.
Yeah, I mean, no, because this is one that was early in the day on there for me. We were texting about this, Zach Cohen and Kelly Bidlin and I, early this morning. Because it's been really bad for New Orleans. I mean, we're talking about outscored by 18.6 points per 100 possessions in non-garbage time. So that's filtering out the times at which you've been blown out. So think about how bad that's been from a minutes-to-minutes standpoint. Their defense, one of the worst in the NBA. Zion Williamson's been in and out of the lineup, so that's been a problem as well. And they're just not really that well coached. But Charlotte, without these two guys, without LaMelo, without Brandon Miller, I think it is a team that leaves you a lot to be desired in terms of shot creation and offense, and I think this is going to be pretty poor for them. They did do enough, and we talked about this in the preseason, where you thought they did enough that if you were going to miss LaMelo Ball, that you're going to be good enough. But in the minutes without Ball and Miller on the floor so far this year, they've been outscored by 9.3 points per 100 possessions. They're in the 9th percentile of offensive rating. So again, I go back to that premise. If not now, when? Mm-hmm. If Zion's going to play and you don't really have an option for him defensively and you're missing your top two offensive players, scorers, really your top option in LaMelo Ball, this has to be the opportunity back at home for New Orleans to get a win here, one would assume. And at the beginning of the day, by the way, that was -1.5. So to your point, that's 4. Maybe wait for a better number in game, but it's got to be a pretty good spot for New Orleans today.
How about Bucks and Raptors? So Milwaukee on the second half of back-to-back. Giannis hits the fading 16-footer at the buzzer last night to beat the Pacers. They win 117-115. Do not cover the 6.5. Fun fact, though, from Genius IQ, Giannis had just a 13% chance to make that shot. His most improbable made jumper in the last 10 seasons. So I thought that was interesting given the moment. So they sneak out the win. They are a 3.5-point dog today against Toronto. Total 237.5. Load management stuff here with Giannis, would you expect?
No, I mean,
the second half of a back-to-back?
He's listed as probable.
Yeah.
So, and he's been on every injury report as probable, so I don't think that's an indication of what's going to happen. I think this number is really, it's the second leg of a back-to-back. It's also the third game in 4 nights. So that's something there for Milwaukee that doesn't really help the case. And generally the market will go against that. We know, we got the report the other day, Kevin Porter Jr. is out, so that's a part of their rotation that's not going to be available for them. And we're starting to see the market kind of just tepidly head in this direction. I would have been surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if this closes shorter, if Milwaukee gets the number and we get to maybe 2 by the time we get to tip off. Because if Giannis is going to play, I mean, you've got your guy out there. How much realistically is the negative scheduling spot, second leg of a back-to-back, third game in 4 nights, really worth in a situation against Toronto? Now, Toronto has played a lot better recently. They went on that stretch where they won, if you remember, the first game. Then they lost 4 straight. Now they come into this with wins over Cleveland and Memphis. Memphis without Ja, though, so I guess you kind of draw a line through that. But they have at least played a little bit better here, and they're healthy. Jakob Poeltl, the only name on the injury report so far for Toronto. So my overall point here would be, if you want the number, I would say go ahead and grab it, just because I do think that it's probably going to head in the direction of Giannis and the Bucks because he's going to play tonight.
Chicago, a 1.5-point favorite, depending where you look, against the 76ers. Top 2 teams in the Eastern Conference, just like everybody thought, the Bulls and 76ers. Both teams entered tonight 5-1. Philly most recently picked up a blowout road win over the Brooklyn Nets. Big game from Kelly Oubre Jr., Tyrese Maxey. Bulls dropped their first game of the season to the Knicks. Do you like them in a bounce back? How do you view this one?
I think this is a must-watch today because you mentioned the standings and how good these two teams have been. Jared McCain is going to make his season debut tonight for the Philadelphia 76ers. So this is the thing that we've been kind of touting on this show for the last couple of days and since the start of the season is this 76ers backcourt's pretty good, folks. You have obviously good starters in Edgecombe and Tyrese Maxey. You've got good depth to it in Quentin Grimes. And then now Jared McCain coming back in his first game. Obviously, we still have this Embiid minutes restriction of sorts for Philadelphia, but as this team kind of goes along, David Jensen asked me this morning on Visa by the Books, hey, of these teams that we're looking at here, where would you kind of gravitate towards? And I know that I would be mocked. And what does Lombardi call them? The St. Jude's donations or whatever?
Yeah, St. Jude's play.
One of the preseason futures that we discussed and that I have, if Philadelphia at 18-1 to win the Eastern Conference, if Paul George comes back, this team's got some upside to it. And I think you can make the argument that they are a team that is equal, if not better, to Chicago, and that's what this number would say. But I'm trying hard not to like Philadelphia too much. That's all to say that I would definitely lean in the 76ers direction tonight, but this should be a really good game because Chicago's like legitimately solid.
Also, just of note here, the 76ers are on the first half of a back-to-back. They've got the Cavs tomorrow, and Shams Charania, I saw a report from him earlier that Darius Garland's going to make his debut tomorrow.
Yeah, so that's pretty big too because Cleveland's obviously been missing that. Merrill got dinged up, and he was out of the lineup too, so now all of a sudden their perimeter offense is going to get a little bit better. Really quick, the one we should know too, Orlando, Atlanta, that's on the rotation too, 3.5, 229.5. I'll probably regret this, but I like Orlando. I like 3 today with the Magic, and it's up to 3.5. Without Trae Young, I think that this Hawks team, Zach wrote this up in in his daily article, where they're better than I think they're given credit for without Trae Young. But Orlando, so let's invoke Charlotte one more time. About 3 or 4 days ago, Orlando loses to Detroit, and then on the second leg of a back-to-back goes to Charlotte. But in between, in the media availability after the Detroit game, Jamal Mosley just kind of ripping the team. Just, our defense stinks. This is all we can't figure anything out. We're better than this. Banchero comes out, says pretty much the same things. And then they go out. They beat Charlotte pretty handily. They've now won 2 straight. Their defense has been very good. And I think they're kind of starting to turn the corner defensively and becoming a little bit more of the team we expected them to be on that end. I still think they stink on offense, but their defense is going to be, I think, pretty good. So I'm going to try to kind of ride this with Orlando, see if they can get this done one more time here, but I like them tonight against Atlanta.
And as we talk about all of these line moves as well, remember, before the line moves, the sharp plays is already there, and they don't just follow the market. They do help move it. You're not going to outsmart billion-dollar sports books or full-time sharps on your own, but with the sharp plays, fortunately, you don't have to. They're powered by advanced AI, plugged into trusted insider sources, and are active across the NBA, the NFL, MLB, college basketball, whatever it is. The sharp plays is delivering the edge serious bettors use each and every day. They've got free betting reports, real-time alerts, market-moving insights, all of it, by the way, sent straight to your inbox or X feed. And they have been delivering the documented results, public logs, and transparent receipts since 2011. SharpPlays.com, trusted by the pros, watched by the books. Head over to SharpPlays.com today and stay ahead of the line yourself. That Magic Hawks game, the first of 2 national games today for the NBC Peacock doubleheader. That will begin at 5 Pacific, 8 Eastern. Again, 3.5 your number there, total 229.5. And when we come back from the break, I'd like to also get your thoughts on Thunder at Clippers.
Big one.
Your Clips getting 7.5 at home, taking on OKC, total 220.5. In addition,
if anybody plays.
If any. So, yeah, we'll get the latest on the injury report there. And we'll also have a little fun on the ice. Puck around and find out. We've got a 10-game slate in the National Hockey League today. A couple games that did catch my eye. I didn't dive in too deep. I didn't want to overwhelm myself with the cards, so I picked a couple things. We'll be right back here on Money Moves.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Tuesday edition of Money Moves. Stormy, Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you live in Las Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino. We were talking last segment about the 6-game card in the NBA and want to make sure we hit on the nightcap because it is your beloved Los Angeles Clippers going head-to-head with the defending champion Thunder. 7.5-point spread for OKC on the road.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to play. We don't really have any official news yet for the Los Angeles Clippers. We're waiting for them. Second leg of a back-to-back. Later teams, you don't have to submit your injury report till a little bit later in the day, so we will see what the official report is. Now, it is worth pointing out that the Thunder do have a couple of guys on the injury report today. Of note, Lou Dort, among some others. Having said that, it sounds like all of them are going to be available. Every name that was listed as questionable on the report today for Oklahoma City took part in shoot-around this morning. Okay. Lou Dort, A.J. Mitchell, Jalen Williams, the other one, not the better Jalen Williams. J-Dub is still out because of this wrist injury. So at this point right now...
I like that, though, not the better one.
Yeah, J-Dub, I believe, is the better guard, and then Jalen Williams is the forward/center. But it sounds like the questionable guys participated in the shoot-around. They'll be available, and we still don't know who's going to play for the Clippers. So with that being said, I mean, it sucks to say for a primetime game, I don't know. You could maybe see these Clippers. And I think obviously the name we're looking for, Kawhi Leonard, James Harden potentially as well. So we'll see. And the Clippers, we should know too, have just been kind of, disappointing. You need a game-winning shot against the Pelicans a couple of nights ago to get to take them out. The offense has been middling and not particularly great. They're not pressuring the rim. They're hitting a bunch of jump shots. They're not getting to the foul line. It's an old team, so maybe this is just one of those things where they're just kind of getting the season started on a slow note and going to maybe ramp it up from an intensity standpoint, but it's hard to really buy in. But if you tell me right now, like in principle, hey, everybody's playing tonight, then yeah, I think you probably take 7.5 at home with the Clippers. I just don't think that's the case. I don't think the market thinks that's the case.
Before we get to the hockey, which we will in a moment, you mentioned Kawhi Leonard. In my brain, obviously that sparks San Diego State, and I know you and Adam Burke earlier on the program were talking SDSU college hoops and the line move in that game today against Long Beach State out to 25.5 right now with the Aztecs at Viejas Arena, total 135.5. Whether it was that game or beyond, though, I know you were looking at a few things on the college basketball card. Did anything stand out to you?
Yeah, so I did. We'll recap in best bets. I did bet over 134 in Louisiana Tech, Nevada. This is up to 136.5, and that's actually so we've seen some back and forth here on this. The total at some spots, I'm going to use Circa's line history for this, open 136.5, got bet up to 138, and then got bet all the way down to 134 before the buyback started to come in. So obviously I would agree with the buyback. Depending on how much value you put in at the beginning of the year, Ken Palm's projections have this more at like 142. I'll invoke what we talked about, I think like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And Adam brings up a great point, which is every coach says this. But I
gonna play fast.
Yeah, but I have some points of evidence in Steve Alford's career that he is a guy that has played fast. The last few years it has looked different for his Nevada teams. But I do think that Nevada is going to try to play a little bit faster so far this season. So we'll see. And in the transfer portal, we'll see if it actually matters. But you do kind of get some pieces that are like, all right, maybe they can pull this off. They go and get some guard transfers in Von Weems and Corey Camper Jr. You have some Corey Camper specifically is pretty good defensively, but they can get out and run. You have good scorers in Elijah Price, who comes in from Fresno State. So they all probably could help as well with the three-point shooting. Nevada was an abysmal three-point shooting team last year. So if you're going to maybe ramp that up, get a little bit more pace, you can, I think, get a little bit more here. In the points, in the first 3 seasons under Alford, the Wolfpack finished 50th or higher twice in adjusted tempo.
Yeah.
They were 235th and lower the last 3 seasons. So if you get improved shooting, if you get improved pace, maybe it's a team that might be worth playing over early. I'm going to test the theory tonight against La Tech.
Okay. And that is a good reminder, too. We will have best bets coming up at the end of the hour, coming up in about 10 minutes. We'll also talk some college football, hit on the marquee games, a couple ranked, unranked games coming up this Saturday in college football. The selection committee is going to make their first set of rankings later on tonight as well. So give some of our thoughts as to where that's going. But for now, let's go out to the ice. It's time to puck around and find out. We're still working on an open for that, though. It will come. Only one national spotlight game tonight, JVT. It's the TNT, HBO, True TV, wherever you want to watch it. 4 Pacific, 7 Eastern. Hurricanes and Rangers going head-to-head here. And the Rangers are getting bet at home, which I like and agree with because, as you like to say, at some point the worm will turn. And the Rangers have yet to win a game on home ice this season, and they're far too good not to at this point. For anyone who hasn't seen it, the Rangers are 6-1-1 on the road this season. 0-4-1 at home, scored just 6 total goals in their 5 games at Madison Square Garden. Their lone point coming in a 6-5 overtime loss to the Sharks, their last game on home ice. And in terms of a movement standpoint, the Carolina Hurricanes opened around like minus 135, 136. They're down to minus 115, minus 110, like virtual pick'em game in a handful of places. Total here sitting 5.5. And one angle I was looking at in this game, although it is pretty juicy at this point, like minus 145 the price, is just for the Rangers to score a goal in the first period. I was listening to some of the sound coming out of practice this week, and JT Miller, team captain for the Rangers, he said, we need to make more of a priority to start the game on time, coming out of the gates. Strong is big for them, said that's what's propelled them to success on the road. And the numbers kind of bear that out. At MSG so far this season, they've been outscored 5-2 in the first period, twice allowing a goal that last minute before intermission. It's been a killer. Meanwhile, on the road, they've scored in the first period 5 of their 8 road games, 5-0 in the games they did so. So if you like the Rangers today, you probably like them to get off to a fast start. But I find it hard to kind of bet against the Canes at this point, too. So if you want to lay it, it's juicy for the first period just to score a goal. You could bet them first period money line as well, which is going to be a lot cheaper. But just kind of a few different perspectives on that one. Also, quick update on Vincent Trocheck. He's practicing, still not playing, dealing with an upper body injury for the last month. Mike Sullivan said they're going to continue to load up that top line with Mika Zibanejad centering Panarin and Miller. So just some food for thought on that one.
Yeah, I mean, excuse me, looking at this and what the Rangers have done, especially these last 3 weeks, or these last 3 games, probably has helped. But the one thing, when you brought up you're going to talk about this, I was kind of looking at some of their even strength numbers. Dude, they're dominating in terms of generating high danger chances. So one would assume that at some point you're going to be able to break through.
Yeah, the worm will turn.
Yeah, there you go. And start. I don't want to keep using that.
I can't stop. I'm addicted to it now.
And now kind of break through on what they've been able to do here. So, I mean, I think the metrics would point to that. And by the way, like, it's not like there was a team we were talking about. It might have been the Oilers. That, like, they weren't winning shot share, but they were generating more high danger chances. And you would think that that's not going to be sustainable. It's not what you're looking at for New York. Like, their shot share is well in their favor. The high danger chances are well in their favor. All of these numbers are at even strength. So I'm assuming that this little spurt that they're on here offensively is going to continue.
Yeah, I haven't bet the Rangers. I lean that way. I feel like they are going to win at home. I think that the scoring is going to come early in this game. So I've got to figure out exactly the way that I want to play it. But I do like that side. I also kind of lean under. What's tough about it, though, is the Jekyll and Hyde nature with which the Carolina Hurricanes have played. Some nights they're scoring 6 goals and shutout type performances. Sometimes they're allowing 6 in. So I just don't fully know what to do with this team. The way they've had such inconsistencies, they're so up and down. My gut leans under the 5.5 because of how well the Rangers have played defensively, but I stayed away from the total in general. A total I have bet, though, is in the Preds and Wild.
Tell me about this.
I took over 6 because there was still 1-6 left where there was like 6.5s everywhere, but BetMGM nationally was still at the 6, so it's a little juiced at -120. Neither Nashville nor the the Minnesota Wild have been great scoring teams on paper, but they're very capable. And it's kind of like how we talked about the Cardinals and Cowboys yesterday. Do I think that the Cardinals offense is awesome? No, but the Cowboys defense is so bad that I felt like we were going to get points, right? So both of these D-cores have struggled. Wild are bottom 4, Preds bottom 7 in the league in goals allowed per game. Wild have the second worst penalty kill in the league, but the top 5 power play. Both teams have been very inconsistent defensively, poor goaltending, over 4-1 the Wild's last 5 games, 3-1 the last 4 for the Preds, and 4-1 the last 5 meetings in this series as well. We have historically gotten a good number of goals in this game. So you get the potential for a push on the 6, but you win if you go 7. So let's roll with the over tonight.
These are all strong points. I'm going to retain these to memory.
Plus Nashville, too. Rest disadvantage for them, maybe like some heavy legs.
Yes.
Could let a little more in.
All right, give me we got 45 seconds. Give me the breakdown on Knights and Red Wings. Red Wings are kind of a surprise, no?
Yes.
9-4?
Yeah, I mean, they've been pretty legit to this point. You've got a Golden Knights team that's dealing with some injuries, obviously, with Mark Stone unavailable, Noah Hanifin.
Seems like that's like every year. That's like a normal thing.
Dude, it sucks, too, and he's like the captain and the guy. I didn't end up doing anything with this game, but Golden Knights around a $2 favorite at home, despite how good the Red Wings have been. Surprised me a little bit at the price.
You'll have to answer this question on the other side. We use like differential as an indicator. When I see a team that's 9-4 but has only outscored their opponents by 3 goals, that to me is a red flag, and that is Detroit or a Red Wing.
Yeah, and they're not a team that was exactly like super hyped up coming into the season either. You hear that music, that means we got to step aside. We can reflect on that, as well as take an early look at college football coming up on Saturday. A couple ranked on ranked marquee games upon us.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
All right, Stormy, Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you, rolling along here on Money Moves. We mentioned it earlier. Oh, wait, what are you pointing for?
Just saying what's up.
Oh, okay. Do you want to talk CFP first, or do you want to talk through the two big games? I should have asked you this in the commercial break, but I failed to do that.
I would say CFP.
Okay, so we're going to have the first set of selection committee rankings that comes out later on this afternoon. And it's one of those, like, I think that this is important programming to watch because you get a view of at least how the committee takes into account what some of the teams have done, what their initial plan is moving forward. And so much of this is going to change because wins and losses are the most important metric when all is said and done in this thing.
Right.
And so a lot of those things are just going to work themselves out when it comes to conference championships and beyond. But I think the initial set of ranking just gives you good perspective into what the committee is thinking about a lot of teams.
I mean, I think that's fair. My only issue, and I don't think like that you're necessarily wrong, it's just that we've seen this committee time and time again change their parameters throughout the course of a year, let alone, stay or from one set of rankings all the way to the end. So why would we trust that they're going to be consistent with the parameters they set here when we get to the end of the year? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Sometimes head-to-head matters, sometimes it doesn't. All these things really play in and change throughout the course of a season with their rankings. But I think generally you're right in that, Notre Dame, for example, let's say they check in at number 8. You feel relatively confident Notre Dame's going to be a playoff team then because like Adam said, I assume they're not going to lose the rest of the way, having upended all of their toughest competition, not having a conference championship game to worry about. So that sort of thing, what the market does to respond to that. And are you betting this Notre Dame team? And not only just like make the playoff, but then are you a little bit more confident looking at Notre Dame? Because I've been playing with the idea of the Irish being like the contender behind Ohio State. Mm-hmm. And I think that maybe you have a little bit more confidence then to go in and invest in a future of some sort for a national championship for Notre Dame if they're solidly inside of the playoff field in these first edition of rankings, because I'm going to assume that they're not going to slip out should they remain undefeated.
Right. And this is, I think, another interesting element of it, because we were talking about the ACC part. And last week, if you would have asked me, I'd say, well, the ACC is getting at least 2 in, because Miami doesn't control their fate anymore. You're getting an ACC conference champ, and then if Miami ends up winning out, then they're going to be the other one. Well, that's not the case anymore. That's changed. So is the ACC a one bid league that then in turn opens up a spot that would have been occupied by someone else for a team like Notre Dame?
I would assume the ACC is one bid, right?
That's how I kind of see it now.
Unless, what are we at here?
Notre Dame, by the way, minus 370 to make the playoff. So all of the...
Unless is the scenario for the ACC for 2 teams, is it Virginia all the way into the conference championship? Is it Virginia and Georgia Tech in a conference championship game and then a 2-loss Georgia Tech? Or I don't know. You're right.
Yeah.
I don't think that there's 2 bids here for the ACC for the most part.
I don't think that I can get there anymore.
Yeah.
When before, the way that Georgia Tech was humming and what Miami we thought they were, I thought that was an easy thing. But now here we go. Look at the top of the odds board for the ACC. Georgia Tech plus 280, Duke plus 290, Virginia plus 350, Louisville plus 370. Like those are your top 4 to win the ACC because of the way that the schedule is played out.
Yeah, because I keep seeing Virginia and looking at where they're at, but I just feel like 2 losses for Virginia, like that's a nail in the coffin. Because the other part is, like, do you get Louisville and Virginia in an ACC championship game? Louisville gets revenge over Virginia for their loss, and then you have 2-loss Virginia, and then Louisville getting in. But
and what's crazy too is that the one loss that Virginia has is to NC State, but it's a non-conference game.
Yeah,
which is like wild. Mm-hmm. Also, as somebody who is covering the Louisville Cal game this week, I may or may not be hoping we get good arguments for Louisville for the ACC title, and we get some good drama and stories as we go with that. But it is really interesting to see how it all shakes out. And obviously we will kind of analyze what we get from the committee tomorrow when we're on the program again. But another conference that is extremely intriguing is the Big 12. And we have the marquee matchup. Yes, number 8 versus number 9, BYU at Texas Tech. Lubbock College game day is going to be there. 11 a.m. local Central Time kick. Winner of this game is in very clear control of the conference. BYU's undefeated, 8-0. on the season, 5-0 obviously in the league. Texas Tech lone loss 3 weeks ago at ASU without their starting quarterback, Baron Morton, in that game. He's back, looked awesome against Kansas State, and that inexplicable loss to the Sun Devils is the only game when you look at their schedule, JVT, that was even close.
Yeah.
I mean, K-State this past weekend, 43-20. Oklahoma State, 42-0. Kansas, 42-17. Houston, 35-11. Utah, 34-10. At Rice-Eccles, by the way. Granted, I know that one's kind of how do you view it because of the Devin Dampier injury that week. But, I mean, you go up and down their schedule. They're winning games at margin, and they're a double-digit favorite in this game against BYU.
That BYU team that I think many in our circles here, VSiN, would tell you that there is some fraudulence to their status as one of the top 10 teams in the country.
I agree and disagree with it. Because I agree, yes, there is some fraudulence, but I also think they're really good.
Yeah. They're going to get LJ Martin back here, too, for BYU, so, that's a pretty big deal.
So that's what I wasn't fully sure about what that was going to look like for him. Shoulder injury in the first half against Iowa State, by the way. They're coming off of the bye, so he's healed up. I hadn't seen, an official
Thamel reported Big 12 leading rusher LJ Martin is expected to play for the number 8 Cougars on Saturday at number 9 Texas Tech.
That's huge, especially because his backup, Sione Moa, has been banged up as well. And I really like this offensive line. I'm curious how that's going to match up with a Texas Tech D-line that's top 3 in the country.
Yep. Yeah, that to me is the fun one, right? The pass rush, how good that defensive line has been going after BYU. BYU's run defense has not been particularly great, but Texas Tech's rush offense is actually nothing to really write home about. By EPA standards, they're 118th in the country, so don't really think you're going to be able to go after BYU in that sense. Part of me, I am somewhat hesitant because I hear so many people that are smarter in college football tell me, this BYU team, kind of fraudulent. But then I see 9.5 with a BYU team that statistically, especially on offense, is checking a ton of boxes.
Well, I think part of the fraudulence, or at least one box that people are checking as their frauds, is the turnover metric that they have, because they have forced so many turnovers. But some people will say that's something that can't continue at the rate that they're doing this thing. But I would argue they're just opportunistic, and they have been able to take advantage of certain situations. And you're taking on a Texas Tech team this week that Baron Morton is an explosive passer, right? And so if you can be in some positions where he's a little bit off target and take advantage of it because that's what you're good at and you have confidence in the defense and special teams that you've had, I view that as a strength of theirs, not as something that's inevitable for regression.
Yeah, the timely turnovers, one would assume you can't keep doing it, but there is these wide swaths of variance where over the course of a season, they continue to fall in your direction. We've seen it a lot of times, and maybe that's just going to be the story of this BYU team.
And I think a lot of people, too, look at the lone common opponent that they've had in Utah and what Texas Tech did to Utah compared to BYU, who needed to come back to win that game and probably should have lost it. Utah had some untimely turnovers. They also go for it on 4th down that they miss because they don't trust their kicking game, so they lose that game. And I think that's another thing that people look at a lot. But who's to say how different that game could have been if Devin Dampier was at full strength? I'm not saying they would have won that game, but maybe it would have been different. And I think this is kind of a fun nugget, too. For as much as we talk about how Texas Tech has blown out so many opponents, JVT, do you know when the last time BYU lost a game by more than 7 points was?
Ooh, I assume it's not. You tell me when.
November 11th of 2023.
Wow, it's been that long, huh?
Yes. Last season, if you remember, they had that 9-0 start and things fell apart the back end of the year that cost them an opportunity to be in the Big 12 championship game. But both of those losses were by 4-5 points. I think Kalani Sitake is one of the more underrated head coaches in the country as well. And I think they'll have their mind right for this game. 10.5 just feels like a lot for me. I don't know where I'm ultimately going to end up on this game. And it's kind of fun that you have a Texas Tech team that does win at margin and you have a BYU team that doesn't lose by margin. Which of those things is going to win out here? Adam Burke was adamant, though, that he does not believe in BYU.
No, he was not. He was somewhat grumpy about it.
Somewhat. Somewhat. I don't know fully what to do with this game. The total, 52.5.
Really quick?
Yeah.
Last 50 seconds because time is flying by.
What?
What's your best bet for tonight?
For
hockey. We're getting out of here. Don't we want to tell people what's going on before we?
This is the last segment of the day?
Yeah, it's 12.
Dude, I was 15 minutes behind.
Yeah, it's 12:55.
Oh my gosh. Wild Preds over 6.
I was wondering what you were doing.
I thought we had a whole nother segment.
I was wondering what you were doing.
Shut the front door.
Yeah. I was like,
I can't believe this just happened to me.
I didn't mean to grab the wheel, but yeah, probably got to tell people what you got going on.
Time flies when you're
having
having
the Magic
fun.
tonight. Yeah.
So sorry.
What's coming up next?
I just kept going.
Yeah, and Louisiana Tech, Nevada, bet it over 134.
Kill me now. Anyways,
What's coming up next?
Great that coming up next for us, we've got a meeting with our boss, so good.
He's not gonna like that.
Probably
Write it
going
down.
to hear about that one. Follow the money coming up next. Join Mitch and Paul for the next 3 hours. My goodness, what did I do?